Okay, welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me this afternoon is Zakk from Extreme Outfitters. Welcome.
Appreciate it, man. We finally made it.
Yeah, thanks. I had the first time ever since we got Starlink years ago, and this is the first day that it started lagging on me. So hopefully,
It's the story of my life. I feel like we have those problems here more often than not.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's one thing when you're trying to do just the audio, but when you're doing audio and video, it's kind of needed. So
Right, yeah.
So I was trying to remember the first video I saw of you guys, and I can't remember what I'm sure it was probably when did your YouTube page start?
Oh man, it's been so. I want to say it's probably been 3 years now, maybe
Okay.
3, maybe 4. We started like everybody else, right? Not really knowing exactly what we're doing and just kind of throwing some stuff out there. Because when we first started it, Cody he's over at Easton now.
Yep.
So Cody was my first guy I brought over here when we started our archery side of things. And he was kind of the lead on that.
Okay.
He was the one that pushed it. He was like, we need to be on YouTube. We need to be on YouTube. And I was like, oh, all right, man, let's give it a shot, So, and that's kind of how it just evolved from there.
Nice. Yeah. I had him on here a couple weeks ago, and he was nothing but praise for you. I said, I was, have your sticker because I bought my 5.0s from you because you posted a picture when you got them in stock. And I was literally bouncing between I'm in Canada, so I was going through the Canadian stores here. I was going to a bunch of the US ones, Podium Archer, yours, like Lancaster. And I was literally the first person that says that they've got 5.0s and a 250 spine in stock. I'm grabbing a dozen. And you posted a picture. We got them. And I was like, order.
Man, I was really, really surprised. I mean, I knew the product was going to do good, but I wasn't expecting it to, us turn them over as quickly as we did. I mean, 24 hours. And I mean, we had a lot and they were gone.
They were gone. Wow. Yeah. I think, like I was telling Cody, I said, I think that's the arrow everybody's been waiting for, like the Axis was super popular, but making them a little bit lighter now is going to appeal to so much more people.
Yeah, I agree. I've been an Axis fan. The 5mm Axis has kind of been my staple arrow that I've run for pretty much forever. And I'm one of those. Once I find something that works, I'll run it. And everyone's talked about the a little bit lighter GPI, and I think that 5.0 is going to be. I mean, just gauging the response that we got right out of the gate, it's going to be the arrow that everyone's going to rage about, I think, here for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we skipped over introductions a little bit. Just tell everybody who you are and what your company is.
Yeah, so my name's Zakk Plocica. Our company is Extreme Outfitters. We are based out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. So we are right on the East Coast, right outside of Camp Lejeune. So the largest Marine Corps base on the East Coast. We're right outside of there. So as you can imagine, a majority of my not only customers locally, but my staff are either active duty guys, prior military guys, guys that are in the process of retiring, and then, spouses. That's what our business is, comprised of.
Okay.
So very military oriented. And yeah, I mean, we've been in business since 2001.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've been in business for a long time as a brick and mortar store, but the archery side of things is fairly new to us, right? So we're in year, I think, 7. So it's a fairly new addition to what we've done because our primary focus has always been military law enforcement and then the outdoor community. And things have kind of shifted and evolved. And I've had a passion for bow hunting for some time. And I just incorporated it into our business model, man. And it's really dominated.
Yeah.
More so than I could ever have expected.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's nice to have, like, how many videos do you guys pump out a week? Is it 1 or 2 or?
It really depends on the time of the year and what we've got going on. So I'm in a big I don't even want to say transition period, but we're kind of restructuring what we do and trying to prioritize the things that are really important to us. Obviously, content being one of them. Unfortunately, as a business, you're pumping out content left and right. It is what it is. But during when we have a little bit more downtime, it can be 2 to 3 videos a week, but I shoot 4 long form videos on YouTube, at least 1 a week.
Yeah. You and JR are doing awesome. It's nice. And now you're incorporating some other guy. Do the other guys that are seeing in the videos now, are they working at the store, or are they just friends of the store?
Yeah, no. So I've got people from all over. I've got a handful of guys in the shop, and that's the thing about our shop is we've got everyone sees JR and me in the videos, but my shop has got some really, really talented techs that are on staff, full-time and part-time. And so we got I originally had Tony Griffin, who's over at Easton. He was my first guy. And he was, he's a wealth of knowledge, just an incredible individual, very, very well-versed in anything and everything, especially archery. But I've been very selective with who I bring into our company because to me, quality is priority one with what we do in customer service. And the guys I brought on board all have different unique backgrounds. So JR being one of my lead techs, he's a very, very passionate bow hunter, archer, just tinker. But then I've got some other guys, a guy named Cody Harrington. He used to work over at Hamsky. He's worked at another shop locally. He's grown up in the archery world, just an incredible shooter. And then somebody that can diagnose and tune a bow like no other. Not necessarily my camera guy yet, but I'm trying to work him into that. And then I've got another guy, Zach Rhodes. You want to talk about a hunter. This guy, it doesn't matter what it is, what species it is. He's hunted everything from out west, elk, antelope, whitetail. He traps. Just an incredible hunter and can tune a bow too. And then we've got all of our part-time guys. So we've got a really big staff of just talented individuals within our company. So whenever people call us, when it comes to tuning questions, product questions, I've got a host of guys and girls that I can put on the phone and they can confidently answer questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's one thing to read about something and know about it, but when you actually experience it and be able to say, this is why this is good, and this is this is the experience I had with it. That's that's really awesome. So how did you? I usually like to ask everybody here, when did you first pick up a bow, and how did that kind of transition into bow hunting for you?
So I'm a late bloomer, man. I didn't grow up in the hunting world. I didn't grow up outdoors like the traditional outdoorsman. I was always very involved in sports from at a very early age. So my focus was always the athletic side. And the way our company kind of came about is kind of unique. It's different. We are not the original owners of this company. I started working here when I was a kid, and it was completely different. The original owner, who was a very good friend of ours, he passed away. We took over the company and kind of expanded on what it is. But I got into the bow hunting side of things, 10 years ago. So I haven't been in it my entire life. But when I got into it, I didn't get into it necessarily the way now I look at it like someone should. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I got a bow. It wasn't fit to me. It wasn't tuned. I took it out. I started hunting. I fell in love with the bow hunting side of things. That's really my passion when it comes to bows. Not target side of things, but actually being in the woods and bow hunting. That's what I really enjoyed. So I was very late to the game. But I really developed a true passion for it. And then I saw an opportunity for us as a company to incorporate it into our business model. And that's what I did. And so far it's been very successful. But when you look at our staff and stuff, I'm not the tech. I can tune a bow. I can do any of that, but I've hired guys that are 10 times more capable than what I am. So I look to these guys, and I think that's what we've done a good job at, is bringing in the expertise in our business, and they guide me along, right? So whenever I'm I look to them for everything, advice on products and whatnot. Just because they're the experts in that field. And that's important to me in our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of almost exactly the same as you. I got into it, about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and we moved to the country from the suburbs, and I'd done archery as a kid and like in high school, but that was it. There was, I never owned a bow. It was just like on family trips and stuff. We'd go to like this athletic outdoor place and they'd have archery and I'd do it there, and was on the archery team in high school. We did like recurves and then got away from it. And a friend of mine called me after he bought a compound bow and was like, "This is it. You need to buy one of these." And so I kind of started, I always, whenever I get into something, I dive right to the bottom of the pool. Right. So
Yep.
it was
Yep.
like, I was just a sponge for a couple of years before, and I knew I was going to want a flagship. I didn't want to buy something that was like $400 and then have to move up with it. I wanted to go and get something decent. So I had young kids at the time, so I had to save my pennies a little bit, and then finally, but in 2019, I bought a Hoyt Helix Ultra. So that was kind of my entrance into it, and then from there, a couple of years later, I bought a Prime, and then last year I tried out the Elites, and
Yep.
so I'm just kind of like taking it all in, playing the field, right?
Yeah, and for me, it was a good gateway to getting my kids into the outdoors, right? So I have 3 boys, and it's important to me that they are capable young men. And I always looked at, being a hunter or being outdoorsman as a valuable skill, right? It's something I think most people should, be introduced to at some point in time. And that's kind of what archery allowed me to do, right? I got into it. I got my son into it initially, and it really took off, man. And once I got into it, that was it for me. I mean, I absolutely, like you, dove in head first and never looked back. And that's, for me, that's like my priority. As far as when I hunt, I primarily only bow hunt.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I thought that I have anything against rifles.
No.
Actually the first time I did go hunting, if we have a family member that owns 300 acres. So once he heard that I was interested, he's like, "Well, come up to the camp, bring your rifle or whatever, and you can sit in a tree stand and see, you can shoot a deer." So I'm out there, and I was loving the fact that I was in the environment like that, but I wasn't connecting to the weapon that I had, and it wasn't because I don't know if it was because I had only shot targets previously with rifles, and that's what I associated them to. But it wasn't until the following year that I bought the bow and brought it with me, and I was like, "Now this clicked. This makes sense for me," and it just felt more of a natural transition for me. But
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. You know, it's funny. I talk about my first bow like it wasn't set up for me. It wasn't tuned and whatnot. The first deer I ever shot, it was not the way I would want somebody to be introduced into bow hunting, right? So I'm in a stand. This little deer comes in about 15 yards. I draw back, shoot this deer right in the spine. Like, arrow flight was atrocious. I mean, it was just a disaster from the get-go. Yeah. And it was, for me right there, was eye-opening. And I was like, oh man, there's more to this than the surface level that I see. And that's where I started kind of diving in a little bit deeper, and then kind of talking to some friends and realizing that, oh, the bow needs to be set up. The arrow matters.
yeah,
There's spine. I didn't know what spines were. It was just put an arrow. And that's one of the things that's important with us, is providing the educational side of things, so that when guys do get into it, they're getting into it right, so it doesn't put a bad taste in their mouth.
yeah. Like when I did go hunting for the first time with the bow, I did shoot a bear, and it was the
Oh,
same
wow.
sort of thing. It was like the wrong situation. It should never have played out the way that it did. Like I just got a tree stand. My wife bought me a tree stand for Christmas. I had this new bow I'd had for like a year. I'd been shooting on level ground really good out to 60, but never from an elevated position. So I'm out there. It's like an hour. I've been in the tree for about an hour, and I hear this bear walk out, and I shot it. The shot was too high, ran past the tree, broke the arrow off. We never found it. So the first animal I ever shot ever, I never found. So that kind of stuck with me. And then I was like, well, maybe it was my arrow not heavy enough. And I played the whole heavy arrow game and went down that rabbit hole. And then it was like, I wish I had this recorded, which is kind of how this whole thing got started with my YouTube channel and stuff, because I wanted to start recording the hunts, but then also review the gear that I was using and stuff like that. But it's, you know, it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. And you got to practice from an elevated position. You got to practice with the clothing that you're going to be wearing. If it's going to be, you know, all that stuff matters. So,
yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's a lot of the overlooked aspects of archery is, you know, because, you know, we deal with all different people, you know, like, again, people who are just getting into it, people who have been lifelong hunters, and, you know, guys coming in don't realize that you can't just pick a bow up, take it out, and start hunting. I mean, we got to set it up to them. I mean, they need to learn to shoot the thing, you know. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it that, as new archers, gets overlooked, I think, a lot. And that's where the educational side of things is important for a shop to provide, especially at the local level.
So are you finding that when a lot of customers come in, do they already have some knowledge, or are a lot of them completely brand new?
We get a good mix, right? So again, we're in a kind of a unique place because we're right outside of the Marine Corps base. It's a very transient area. So we get people from all over the country, right? From out west, up north, city people, I mean, that are getting stationed here from all over. So we get a wide variety of, you know, new people that are looking at getting into it that have never even been in the woods, right? Guys that come from the cities, get stationed here, talk to their buddies. They wanted to get into hunting somehow. They end up in the archery side of things. They've never stepped foot in the woods. You know, they've lived in the city their whole life. And then we got guys who've spent their entire life bow hunting from an early age. So we got a kind of unique mix here, and it's constantly new people every couple years.
Yeah. Do you find it's growing at a rapid rate, or?
So it's hard. I think it's kind of hard to answer that. I was doing a little bit of research the other day, and they say archery is growing tremendously. Like by 2033, there's supposed to be this massive amount of growth from now. How true that is, I'm not sure. But we see new faces all the time. And I'd like to think that it is growing with the amount of influential individuals out there that are getting into it, right? That are crossed over in other markets. So you got, you know, your Joe Rogans, I mean, the Cam Hanes, the stuff that you put out, all these other people that really touch a broader market that I think are generating more interest in people, and they're wanting, I think we are seeing more people that are wanting to get into the archery specific side of things. And it may be just because of where we're located. I don't know. We get so many new people in this area, but to me, it seems like there's growth in it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've heard a lot of women and children demographics are really starting to take over, and we're growing for sure. But
it seems like it. I mean, the schools, like the 4-H programs and stuff, that's new to our area, is getting stood up. And we do see, and I think we've seen more women this past year than we have ever that are looking to get into it with their husbands or boyfriends or whatnot.
So what kind of what bow are you leaning towards? Are you PSE, mainly PSE guy?
Well, I've got a good relationship with PSE, and you know, our shop, we carry all the brands, right? So Hoyt, Matthews, Prime, all of them. And I personally have shot all of them. Like I have a Prime Rev X2 that I've got that I shot this last season. I've got a Mach 30 that's behind me that I've got set up.
Nice.
I still don't know what I'm doing this year. I'm usually the last one in the game when it comes to my guys. All my guys will have new bows, and then I kind of come along and, you know, I'll shoot what everyone else hasn't in the shop, because I give all the guys the opportunity, like, hey, you can shoot whatever you want. And I usually shoot what's not the most popular in our shop. You know, I shot Bowtech for a couple years. And that's not to say the bows aren't great by any means. It's just, you know, everybody's drawn to something different. But, you know, this year, I don't know, man. The Mach 33 has been an incredibly popular bow for us. You know, it's funny. The Prime, the form, is an interesting bow, in my opinion. When I first saw it, I was really like, man, this is going to be a tough year for Prime. But when we got in the shop, man, it shot exceptionally well. And we've sold more than I expected us to already this early in the game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's a unique bow, but it's a good feeling bow, and I think a very good performing bow. Prime does a fantastic job. I think when you want a bow that holds really well at full draw, I think they do a great job. But yeah, I'm not sure, man. I look at the new Hoyt bows, that 32-inch aluminum bow that they've got. I really like. It's tough,
hard.
man.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah. I went to TAC last year, Pennsylvania TAC, and went over to the Hoyt booth, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to shoot one?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "I'm right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant, so I shoot left. So, do you have any left-handed ones there? Because usually left-handed bows are like a special order,
Right.
and they're not in stock." And right, and he's like, "Oh no, we got one of each here. You can try the I think it was the Alpha X at the time and the RX8." And I drew that thing back, and I was like, "This is not the Hoyt that I used to shoot." The changes that they made just over those years were just incredible.
It's funny. This year, there's a big complaint about the Hoyt bows, about them being, they are a little stiffer than last year's bows, but I think you get a little bit more performance out of them. But if there's one thing about a Hoyt bow, it's dependable. Like,
yeah.
When it comes to durability, I don't think there's a more durable bow on the market. They just once you get them tuned and set up, you do not have to worry about that bow.
Yeah, I remember when I bought the Helix Ultra, the guy in the store was like, "You're never gonna need another one. Like you're gonna be set for probably forever." And I was like, "Well, I don't want, I'm sure I'll, make changes at some point, but that's nice to hear."
They're tough to beat, man.
Yeah. So going back to the arrows, like there's a few companies that have come out with some new ones. Is there, aside from the 5.0s, are there other arrows that are flying off the shelf, like the Victory? What is it?
The HLR.
HLR, yeah.
Yeah, man. So Victory is probably, when it comes to our online business, Victory is our number one selling arrow. In particular, the Rip TKO. That 5mm shaft is incredibly popular for us. But they just released the HLR this year, and again, right alongside that 5.0, I mean, they're neck and neck, man. Depending on what spine your option, I kind of, put some feelers out there to some of our customers, like, hey, what's making you go one over the other? And it's kind of dependent on their spine, whether they're shooting 250 or 300. People are kind of going back and forth. But the thing that's it's tough for us is we sell both Victory and Easton, both fantastic arrows and arrow manufacturers, but the struggle with us this year is Easton is the wait times on them is so long, right? So, we order, tons and tons of 5.0s, and we just can't get them in fast enough. It's a great problem, right? But it's a problem nonetheless. But the HLR from Victory is, we're getting those in pretty regularly. Again, man, they're both good shafts. It's up in the air. I think the 5.0 from Easton is going to be a little bit more popular, just because everyone loves the Easton brand. American made.
Yeah.
The quality control that they put out, the tolerances are just incredible. I think once we get those back in stock, or once we can get those in more of a regular rotation, I think that's going to be the number one arrow for the year. But I think the HLR with Victory will be a very close second.
Yeah. And that's the 1.5K weave, is it?
K-weave, yeah. So it's been good, man. We've spun them. The HLR spins fantastic. They've been very consistent. It's funny, I just had one of my guys, his name is Chase. He's in the process of retiring out of the Marine Corps, and he's helping me with some projects within the shop. We just brought him on part-time, but he was shooting the HLRs, just doing some testing, and I can't remember what he did, but he bumped his release or something, and he sent it through. I don't remember if it was the wall, a 2x4 or something, but it was a mistake nonetheless.
Yeah.
But he pulled the arrow back out and he respun it, and it was flawless. So
Wow.
the durability side on the HLR is there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be good contenders against each other. That's for sure.
I agree.
Just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show. Yeah. Going back to the Prime form, have you shot it? Did you shoot it yet? Or yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you think compared to the RVX that you were shooting?
Man, I like aluminum bows. I like my RVX a lot. The Prime form, I think I was really surprised at how good it felt post shot. And usually vibration is not an issue for me. The shot's done, a little bit of vibration never bothered me. But that is just a good feeling bow. The draw cycle on it is incredibly smooth from beginning to end. I like how there's no dump. It doesn't roll over. It doesn't stack. It's very smooth and consistent. And then that post shot feel, I mean, it's a dead bow with no bars, no accessories on it. It's rock solid, and it holds really, really well at full draw. That's one of the reasons I like my Rev X2 is it's a 32-inch axle to axle. I can shoot it really well out to distance. My draw length's 28.5 inches. That 32-inch bow is really a sweet spot for me, and just shoots well. The form, it's a little bit more bow than what I like, just based off my draw length. But I mean, it's unique. It's got a unique look to it. I personally like how it looks in the green color, especially.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
It's sharp looking.
Yeah.
But I really want to shoot it with the new mods that they're supposedly releasing.
Right, the speed mods, right?
Because I would like a little bit more speed out of the bow personally. I typically aim 280s to mid 290s when it comes to speed for a bow for me, for performance wise, so I get the most out of my sight and whatnot. And I just it's a little bit on the slower end for me with those mods.
Yeah, I had Brian Anderson on here from Prime. I think he was saying the speed mods will add about 7 or 8 feet per second.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, is not a big deal for a lot of people. I mean, I don't think speed is the end all be all, but for me, I have numbers I like to hit with each of my bows, and I'll build my arrows based off the performance I'm looking for, right? If I need to lower my arrow weight a little bit, I will, just so I can get the speeds that I'm comfortable with. And by no means am I looking for anything crazy fast, but for me, tuning wise, 280, 290 feet per second tunes really well. I get a decently flat trajectory, so I can really dial my sight out, especially if I'm using that bow for attack bow or, do all bow. I like them to shoot no speed, so I'll build my arrows based around that.
Do you find for broadhead sales, is it kind of is one over the other in terms of mechanical versus fixed?
Man, we sell more mechanical, but we're also on the East Coast, right? So whitetail deer is pretty much is what everyone's hunting around here. So like the G5 Mega Meats is probably our number one selling broadhead. We do sell. I'm trying to think what are some of the other broadheads that do really well. The T2 has done well as far as mechanical, but like fixed blade. we did really well with the Helix, that single bevel.
Yep.
It's done really, really well for us. We'll be bringing those back in again this year. And then there's been a big request for what is the Oscuts, I think.
I think they switched ownership, I believe. But I think they are coming out with newer ones now.
Yeah, I thought I just saw something the other day. I talked to one of our reps. Can't remember who it was, but we've had a big request for those. But for us locally, mechanical all day is our number one seller. But whenever I noticed, obviously, when we're shipping stuff out west, we still, even the G5 Connect Beat's a big one that we sell out west, but we notice we get more orders for our fixed blades heading out in the western side of stuff.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. In terms of, I've talked to a couple of people about this. I don't know how they put out a new bow every year, these companies, or sometimes multiple, like Elite put out 5 this year. Like,
unreal.
I don't know how they do it. Do you think it would be more beneficial to have like 1 year release a flagship, the next year release a budget bow, so and give it some time in between the flagships? Or
I don't know, right? Everyone's chasing that thing. It's a tough question to answer. It makes it tough for us, right? So we sell, I mean, I think we have 7 brands that we stock. So we got to know how to tune every single one of those bows. It's a lot. Would it make it? I don't know that it's going to change things. I would like to see them release all the bows. I think it would be better or more beneficial maybe if the bows were all released like after ATA versus, we got some manufacturers dropping them throughout the year. We got them dropping them in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's got to be hard for you guys to like. It used to be every ATA show was when you heard about everything that was new that was coming out. And then 1 year that changed. I can't remember what year it was or why, but somebody decided to release theirs in October as opposed to January or something like that. And then everybody tried to follow suit. Something that's, if I can remember correctly. I don't know.
And that's what it was. And I don't know. I would like to see changing bows every year. I mean, that's a lot. And I always question, I'm like, how do they constantly come up with something innovative? And it may be small, but there is a change. Everyone, I see a lot of comments and stuff. There's nothing changed since the 80s with bows or something crazy, right? There's a lot of people set in their ways and a lot
of opinions.
Is very opinionated, which is fine. But the technology that is advanced, you don't see anything major. I don't think it's like every 3 years or something, you'll see something really big come out. I like the idea of a bow being in line for a couple years, maybe 2 years. And it gives people an opportunity, to not have to jump on it right away. And for us, we're not trying to rotate through bows so often. Is that the right answer? I don't know. But I mean, I don't know how the manufacturers do it, constantly trying to put out something new every single year. And I wonder at what point do we hit our cap with that as well?
Yeah. And it's got to be hard too for you. Like, how many do you order to have in stock?
Oh
like,
my gosh.
So that the end of the year doesn't come and then you've got like boxes and boxes in that people might not be looking at getting because they're going to want the next latest greatest thing, right?
That's it. So we're very strategic with our buying. We did really good. Like I've got 2 bows left over from last year.
Oh wow,
dude! We push hard, man. So
holy cow.
Yeah, and maybe I kick myself sometimes because I didn't buy enough. So we're trying to be more efficient with the way we buy things, right? So we're implementing, and that's one of my guys coming on board who's helping me with that process so that we are more strategic. And, we're not missing opportunities, right? With Matthews, I don't think I could have bought enough Matthews the other year. I mean, we had our biggest Matthews deal year ever. So yeah, it's very, very tough. And we walk that fine line every year. And, every time I get bows in, I'm like, please let archery still be a thing next year,
Yeah.
Because
no kidding.
I've got 80 bows sitting on the wall right now, and we got to sell them all locally because you can't ship bows.
You can't no, you can't sell them online,
which is the best thing ever, I think, honestly, because it protects the dealers. It's great.
It really does, yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, it's tough, man. I mean, I sweat bullets every year when we're ordering bows.
Yeah,
some brands I don't worry about. I know Matthews bow. I order Matthews bows. Those bows are going to sell. They sell themselves. But I like to, I want to be able to provide. And that was the thing with our shop is options for everybody, because not everybody's a Matthews guy.
Right, and
not everybody's a Hoyt guy.
Yeah, and it's nice when I was talking to some people on here about the modules. Everybody seems to be switching to the modules, which is great because then everybody's getting their maximum performance out of their draw length. But then guys like you got to stock all those things, right?
Which one thing we did well is our online business, right? So that's what really saves us, because I've got some friends that own some other shops locally, and that's where they get ate up, right? Is they have, a company switches a cam, and they've got 100, 200 mods left over. That's an outdated mod that now they got to order X amount for the new mod. And that's where we kind of, and I think a lot of shops are starting to see it. You have to have an online business because there are people out there still looking for those. And those are things you can sell online. By all means, you can go to eBay, but what better way to do it than your own brand, right? Your own website. Yeah. So we, like, for example, like Prime mods, Matthews mods, we stock a ton of those because we sell them online too. So I don't got to worry about if they change cams, we're not going to end up getting rid of them. We're not going to sit on them.
Yeah. And if somebody comes in looking to buy a bow, say they want the Matthews or they want a Hoyt, do you recommend that they try other things before they jump into that?
Unless they're 100, they don't want to hear it. Then and there's guys like that, don't get me wrong. Some dudes just know, like, this is what I want, and I'm not going to try to, and my guys aren't going to try to persuade you to get something that's not your fit. But when we got people, we encourage them to come in and be open-minded, right? Because I know your buddy shoots this bow, but it doesn't mean it's the right bow for you. If you come in with an open mind, we'll take and we'll kind of look at, we kind of do a breakdown and assess you. Like, what are your goals? What's your budget? What's your draw length? What are you looking to do with this bow? Is this a primarily hunting bow? Is it a hybrid bow? You're going to hunt with it, take it to tack and shoot 3D? What are your goals with it? And then once we establish those key metrics or those key things, we'll take and look at, okay, here's all the bows that fit that budget, that fit that draw length, and are within that ATA length that you're looking for. And we'll set every one of those up. And we'll tell them, hey, it's like buying a car, man. You need to test drive everything and find what works for you, because my opinion doesn't mean it's going to be the right bow for you. I like shooting this bow at 80 pounds. That might not be for you. You might be happy with a bow that's not quite as, doesn't have the same speeds, but has a more forgiving draw cycle, or it doesn't, it's a more forgiving valley. So we're big on making sure that guys come in who are open-minded, making sure we get all the bows in their hands so they have, they can form an opinion for themselves.
And do you take used bows in or no?
We do. So we don't buy them, but what we offer is a consignment program. So we'll take your bow in and we'll sell it for you, because I know selling bows used for some people is difficult. And we've got a good storefront to where we get a lot of traffic in particularly for bows. So we move used bows pretty well for people. It's just opportunity for them to offload them, not have to take them to a pawn shop, and get nothing for them.
You get nothing for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do people come in with a lot of the same common problems? Like, is it, if they're having an issue with their bow, is a lot of it have to do with tuning, or what kind of things are you seeing?
We see a good mix, man.
How much time do you got?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yeah. So it's funny. I just had a guy, and my guys, I was walking to the front before we hopped on here, and there's a package that came in. It was an RX-5. I'm like, why do we have this bow? They're like, a dude from Alabama shipped it up to us. He wants us to tune it. He's like, I don't know where he's located or whatnot. He's like, the shop just didn't want anything to do with him, I guess. It was, they were having some difficulties getting the bow tuned. So he ended up getting a hold of us, watching our YouTube stuff. He shipped the bow to us.
Oh, wow.
So one of my guys who talking to him, he's like, listen, man, we can get it tuned for us.
Yeah.
But if you're not behind the bow, it doesn't necessarily mean that the bow is going to be tuned for you. You may have some grip issues that you need to work through. There's a host of things. It can be in your release hand. But nonetheless, we'll go through and get it tuned, and we'll talk you through it, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. But one of the things I notice a lot is most people never want to admit it's the shooter, right? Something's wrong with the bow, man. It's always something's wrong with the bow. And a bow is one of those skills, very, you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, I noticed it for myself when I get busy with, I don't spend as much time behind a bow as I want. I mean, my business is, I spend more time in the business doing things and, than I get hunting or stuff like that. But if you don't spend a lot of time behind that riser, you'll think the bow's out of tune, but it's not. It's the individual behind it. You're torquing the bow a little bit. You're not, your shot process is dropped off. You're not following through like you're supposed to. So I think that's what we see more than anything is guys will come in and they just don't realize that it requires time and effort behind it, and you have to learn to shoot the bow properly. And one of the ways that we're able to diagnose that, which most shops are, is we put them behind paper right away, tell them to shoot the bow, make sure that everything's obviously inspect right, the bow's tuned, they're shooting the right arrow. And if they're getting a crazy tear, we typically start with how's their grip hand look and how does their release hand look. And a lot of times we can fix the issues that way.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a lot of the bows are coming out with their own tuning system built right in. There's only a couple that don't have anything yet.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll all eventually come around to that? You think that's where we're kind of headed?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, probably, right. Everyone's chasing that thing. And that was one of the reasons I was such a big fan of Bowtech. When they came out with that deadlock cam technology, I mean, I had a Solution SS, and tuning that bow was an absolute breeze. I mean, for no matter what, I could tune that bow in a matter of minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I talked to Hoyt, actually our rep, and his thing is once a bow's tuned and it's set up, there's not a lot that you should have to do to it, right? And that holds true with Hoyt. When you set a Hoyt bow up and it's a little bit more difficult, you got to pull the axles out, you got to change the shims out, but when it's set up, it stays in tune. I mean, it does. And I think Hoyt over engineers their stuff. Their axles are very, very thick axles. And their shim system works. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but it works great and it holds up really well. And it's great because people can't tinker with it as easily. That's one of the downfalls with, all of these new tuning systems is it gets people in trouble.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard some stories, but I bet you see a hell of a lot more. Yeah.
We do. And no one ever wants to admit it. You get in and just start turning Allen keys and you start moving that cam one way or the other. Same thing with the rest. They think that there's it comes down. They think there's something wrong with the bow. It's the shooter, but they'll take and move that rest one way or the other, or they'll twist that Allen key up and move that cam and not realizing how it's supposed to be done. And then you just got a mess. But for us as a shop, I can, with the new Matthews bows, we can tune a bow fast, right? It's easy fast.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons to everything. I haven't seen any of them fail. I haven't seen any durability issues with them thus far. They performed really, really well. But it seems like everybody's going that route. I, like anyone else, I don't like having to bust the axle out and, pull the cam all the way out and put the shims in, but it works really well and it stays true. And that's one of the reasons I like the PSEs, because I like the Easy 220 shim system. One, it requires a shim, but the shim system is very easy to get in and out without having to take the axle out all the way. You still put it in a press, but it's fast, it's reliable, and it works really, really well.
And does that tool that you need, I think Prime has the same system, does that come with the bow, or is that just sent to the store?
It's sent to the shops.
Yeah, okay. Figured
yeah.
that.
I mean, and that's the great thing about the archery world, right? They're looking out for the dealers. They know the dealers are important to the archery industry. I mean, I think once bows start going direct to consumer, if they ever do, that's when we'll see a real problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, that would hurt us really bad. That the actual manufacturers do a great job of making sure that the dealers are taken care of, and provided the equipment. Yes. So like PSE Prime, they send the tools directly to the shop, so we've got them on hand. We don't sell them.
No,
I don't know
no.
if you can buy them. I'm sure you could probably find them somewhere,
Right.
but it's not something we offer. It's something we keep in house.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed a lot of new stuff's coming up this year. Like we were talking about arrows there. There's a lot of new sights that are coming out. Dield's got the proof, and Matthews has got their UV version. Is there anything that you've seen so far from either ATA or that that's coming down the pipe that you're excited about?
So if I'm being overly honest, man, I don't get excited about a whole lot of things, you
Okay.
know. I'm like the worst when it comes as a salesman, because I'm super simple. I like things that work. I like things that are reliable, and I don't think you need archery world can be very expensive. I'm very well aware of that. And I'll never push something on people that they don't need. I think there's a lot of people that can get away with doing more with less. Hate to say it. I'm in the business of selling, bows and equipment. But I think there's a lot of great price point, whatever you consider price point options out there for all your accessories. But with that being said, you do get what you pay for, I believe, when it comes to your high-end equipment and accessories. And I think Dialed has done a fantastic job. I've got one of their sites that they sent me. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet because I still don't know what bow I'm going to shoot this year. But I'm a big fan of theirs because I have their site from last year, and I don't know why I always blank on the name of it.
Oh, the Arxos?
Yes. And I got that I actually met with, what's his name, Scott?
Yep.
When we were at PA last year, and I bought one from him just because I was curious. I was interested. I slapped it on my bow and loved it, man. It's been fantastic. It's been incredibly durable. But I am excited for the Excel, the driver. There's a lot of hype behind it. I don't know that we ordered enough. And that's one of the big things with Excel, right? You never know when you're going to get them. There's such high demand, and they make such great products. True Ball and Excel, I think, are probably the leaders when it comes to releases and sites within the industry. You're going to get something that hands down is top quality. I mean, it doesn't get any better. So I'm really excited for us to get those in. But, the Spot Hog boonies, I like Spot Hog a lot. I've run the Fast Eddies. I've ran the Fast Eddy XLs. Spot Hog makes bow sights for bow hunters. I mean, the price point, I think so. Yeah, they are, man. They are incredibly durable, incredibly reliable. The price point is not terrible on them. It's not a $700 sight. You get them for like mid fours. I know it's still expensive, but what you get for that price point, I think is, tough to beat. They're so durable, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I hear. You drop it on a rock, pick it up, it's fine. Right?
Dude, I'm telling you, a Hoyt bow and a Spot Hog sight.
You're set. Yeah.
Dude, durability, man. Put a Hamsky rest on it. Doesn't get any better.
Golden. Yeah. Do you have any hunting plans for this year? Or it must be hard as the
It is, man. It's difficult. I like to make sure that my guys get to plan their trips and do what they want to do. And I'm, again, usually pretty bottom of the barrel when it comes to doing stuff. Like, I usually go once a year to Kentucky. My family's got a farm up there. I'll spend a week out there. This last year, I took my son for his first ever out-of-state bow hunting trip.
Nice.
Couldn't have been a worse time to go, worse weather, but it was a blast just to get away for a week. But for me, man, that's it as of right now. I always have these big hopes and dreams and plans. I'm going to go and I'm going to take a couple weeks. And once I get into it, man, and, business starts rocking and rolling, it just doesn't quite work out that well. But I do have a really good staff now, man. So I've got a lot of guys on staff. So that might change this year because we finally have enough guys to operate at the capacity that we want to. And we'll see. If I can get out and do something this year, I'm going to, aside from just the local stuff and that one trip to Kentucky.
Yeah, and you're heading back to TAC this year?
Yeah, so we're doing 2 TAC events this year. As of now, I still go back and forth. It's last minute if we're going to do West Virginia, but we're definitely doing Tennessee and Pennsylvania again.
Nice.
So we'll be at both of those. I'll have four guys at each of those. So it should be good events, man. Total Archery Pennsylvania was awesome.
Yeah, I went for the first time last year with a few friends. We drove down. It's about 6 hours for us to drive down, and just incredible. Like, we got there on the Thursday. We're going to register. We're walking around the vendor village there, and I'm like, there's got to be 100 vendors here, and like, this is all stuff. A lot of this stuff we'll never get our physical hands on, so it's such an incredible experience for that.
Yeah, Total Archery does a really good job, man, of bringing the archery community. I think it's if you're going to go do anything, I think their events are the ones that are worth doing. They do a great job for us as vendors. Like, we're going to PA, we'll have our booth, and we're also running the Easton booth.
Oh, nice.
So we'll be there set up. It's just a great opportunity for us because as our brand is starting to grow, and a lot of people have come to know us via like YouTube and our socials and stuff. And it's just cool to be able to go out and meet people, and interact with the bow hunting and the archery community, because I know there's a lot of people that don't have great shops to go to. Right. And that's one of the things. We get phone calls all the time, are you guys going to open a shop out here? Are you guys, can I send my bow to you? I don't have a shop can I buy a bow from you? So it's unfortunate because we always recommend go to your local shop, right? As everybody should support your local archery shop. I think it's important. But there's just a lot of places that are small that don't have a shop that they can even go to. So that's the cool thing about TAC. You can come meet these people, shake some hands, introduce yourself from behind the camera, right? And actually, meet personalities, because there's a lot of great information out there, man. I know that there's what is it? It's the Podium. He does a really good job, man, of putting out really good content. He seems like he's just a good, wholesome individual. I've never met him personally, but he does a fantastic job. And there's a lot of other guys out there who don't necessarily have shops that we've connected with, that we get an opportunity to go out and meet. Like, for prime example, like you. I mean, it's super cool, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'll be there. So if you're there, I'll track you down.
Yeah, we'll be there, man.
I told Cody I'd help sell some Easton arrows too, because that's all I've ever shot. So
we'll be in that booth running it, man. We'll be the ones supplying all the arrows.
Nice. Are you building them? Are you building them too for people?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
I'm not doing custom builds, right?
No.
We'll have all of them there to cut and build all the pre-fletch stuff. So we should have a ton of 5.0s as long as Easton can come through. Because I imagine they're not going to want a presence there without 5.0s.
That's right, Cody. If you're listening.
That's right. So I talked to him on the regular. So I'm getting ready to put in a big order for that. But it's funny. Yeah. We were at PA last year and we met a bunch of Canadians who follow us on YouTube, and they come through and they were all there drinking, having a good time. And after one of the days, they were set up in the parking lot and they see our truck driving by. We're headed back to our hotel or whatever. And they're screaming out like, "Hey, Extreme Outfitters." So we pull around and we have ended up doing a tailgating party with them.
Oh, nice.
After hours in the park. It was awesome, man.
That's awesome.
They can put them away though. I can't keep up with them.
Yeah, we can drink some beer up here. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll probably grab another dozen from you while I'm down there, because they're just amazing. I love them. I went with the 55 grain half out.
Yep.
Never done the half out. Usually I'm always a hit guy, but I thought I'd give it a shot this year. So far,
yeah,
they're flying amazing.
Yeah, I've always done the same. So I've run the hit insert. I don't even run the collar on my Axis since they've introduced it. I've just run that hit insert. Sometimes I'll run brass in them, 50, 75 grains, depending on what I'm doing and what bow I'm shooting. But I like what Easton has done with their half out system, their match grade system that they've created, the 4 and the 5 mil stuff. I really like it. I like the different weight options that they offer, that 55, I think 75 and 100 grain options that pair with their match grade field tips. I think one, they're really clean looking. And whenever we, build out arrows with them and spin them, they spin really well. The components, the match grade stuff is quality.
Yeah. Super tight tolerances too. Like,
Very.
I mean, one of them I was using super glue on and I was trying to get it in. I was like, oh man, this is tight. I got to get this in before it dries and I'm stuck with it.
I pre-fit everything because that's what I tell the guys in the shop. I'm like, hey, tolerances are tight. Make sure you pre-fit all these inserts because you go to build them and it's not all the way in. It gets expensive quick.
Yeah. Especially when you're filming a video and you're like, oh shit.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I got to redo that part.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep.
Do you have a hunting story you can share before we jump off here?
A good hunting story. I mean, I have like a tragedy.
Hey, they're not all good. They don't all end perfect, right?
They don't all end. I had a really good season for me this year in Eastern North Carolina. And where we're at, we're right on the coast, really hot, really humid, just very, very thick. And I had watched some deer the year prior, the end of the season. I've got some data on them late season and just wasn't able to capitalize. But going into this season, early season, I went in and I had all this data I had collected and put it into play. And I got in set up. It was really, really hot. Mosquitoes are really bad here, just really green. But probably the best buck I've killed to date in where we're at. I shot this year and came in, got set up early afternoon, and just kind of really took my time. I've got some really good friends that are just really, really good hunters, right? Much better than myself. And talking to them kind of took some of their input and put it into effect and got set up. Was only about 8 to 10 feet off the ground. So hunting fairly low, real cut into some real thick vegetation. And, he did exactly what I was hoping he would do, man. It felt like it couldn't have been any more perfect and everything lined up.
Follow the script.
Oh my gosh, man. Like it never goes that way. And it did for me. And I shot him at like 12 yards. Super clean shot, perfect shot, tracked him for, I think it was like 50 or 60 yards. And it's funny, my buddy, Brian, who helps us with a lot of the content stuff that we do, he's calling me while I'm tracking my deer, on FaceTime. He just shot this monster Eastern North Carolina deer right on the coast. So we both had a really good day. But it just worked out, man. It was one of those that, I felt like I did everything right and it just, all the stars lined up and I was able to connect, but it was a good hunt, man. I was stoked for that.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you still running the saddle? I know you guys did that saddle video not too long ago. It was really good.
So I do, over the years, I've kind of shifted and it really depends on what I'm doing and where I'm at, but I take more of a hybrid approach now. So I'll wear a saddle in, but I carry a hang on.
Okay. Yep.
And it gives me the opportunity, if I want to stand, I can hunt like I'm hunting out of a saddle, I can. But more so now, I find myself hunting a little bit lower, so my angles aren't quite as steep. And sitting because I feel like I move a little bit more than what I should when I'm in a saddle, right? I'll kind of find myself swaying a little bit. But once I'm in a lock on or a hang on, I can sit, kind of cut myself into cover, and I'm a little bit more still.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gone, but I started with a ladder stand and it was like, I had a week for bear and a week for deer. And if I didn't see anything, see you next year. Right. So I wanted to get more mobile and try and get into more public areas. And I went to the XOP, one of the XOP stands that was like 12 pounds. Like it's nothing, right? When you carry it in. And then the saddle, I got their mutant saddle. And it's been incredible. It's such a smaller package too on your back. And
Yeah.
you can, where do I want to go today? Right. Like it's just so versatile. I love it. It's awesome. And you've got such a 270 degrees around the tree, right? Like it's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things I look for. So I like the XOP stuff a lot. I have their retrograde and their cold world, which I don't think they make either anymore. But that retrograde is just super compact and small. It fits within the profile of me. So nothing sticking out. And I can get into, like I said, it's super thick here in green all year. It's very easy to get into anywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for jumping on here today. We're coming up to an hour. Do you want to let everybody know how they can find you guys?
Yeah. So again, we're Extreme Outfitters. We are, if you're local in Jacksonville, North Carolina, we're here. We're open 7 days a week. You can also head over to our website, extremeoutfitters.com. All of your archery needs, we've got it there, all the latest and greatest products. And then if you ever need help as far as tuning or questions, we've got tons of techs on staff that can, answer any of your questions. We're always available.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Thanks again for jumping on here, and we'll see you at Pennsylvania TAC.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
See ya.